It's Monday, the 8th of December, 2025, and as Springbok and South African rugby supporters, where would we be without the Stormers? Let's start the show. Hello and welcome back to Bit of an Animal, the South African Rugby Union podcast here on the Global Gain Lions YouTube channel. Let's get stuck in, guys. Temikosi and John joining me this evening. We're still looking for a fourth member of the pod squad. Unfortunately, Lisa B had to take some time away from the podcast. So if you're a Stormer supporter or any rugby unions team of the 14 rugby unions in South Africa, get in touch. The email is in the description. Gentlemen, first game of the week in the EPCR tournaments. We've got 3 Champions Cup teams and we've got 2 Challenge Cup teams. And we, as usual, start with the team that's really flying the flag for South Africa. The Stormers go to France and defeat a much-changed Bayonne team. It's not the Bayonne's best team. But yeah, interesting game from the Stormers. They looked like they were in charge for most of the game, and then weird red card. I didn't think that was the lock's fault from the Stormers. He was falling backwards and he happened to touch a Bayonne player. Maybe he could have moved his leg out the way. And then Bayonne used the fact that they were a man up to good effect. And then unfortunately Leland Zasu, who had a good game, got a yellow card as well, which affected the Stormers. But then their scrum pulled them through. So the Stormers are now 7 games out of 7 in all competitions. Temi Kosi, we'll go first with you. What were your thoughts on the Stormers' unbeaten season thus far?
I'm kind of impressed. I did not think that, especially now they're playing without their like first choice players and they're still playing really well. The fact that they got a win away, I was hoping. I think this is bad to say this because there are so much supporters out there. I was hoping this was going to be their stumbling block, but out of the 4 teams, like out of the 5 teams, they're the ones that played out well. The only, I think the only critique, I think this also goes for all the games. When we get a card, we're under pressure and we seem to leak a lot of points. And this is like true for kind of like all the games. I feel like every other game, like the Bulls also, were on point. Then they got a yellow card, and I don't know what happened. It seems like the whole structure just fell apart. So I think they did really well. The only person I'm a little bit concerned about was Dylan March. He did not have a good game. He was under pressure. He didn't adapt as well. It was good to see Clayton Swart play. He's a bit slow. There was this other run where he just needed to kind of like he kind of made a line break, and all he needed to do was run. But I could see that he does not have the what is this the stamina to even go that far. Hopefully they lose the next part, but no, they can win.
What's interesting is that the Stormers' next game is in South Africa, but it's not at Cape Town Stadium. Stormers often play 1 or maybe sometimes 2 games at Nelson Mandela Stadium in the Eastern Cape. It should be really well attended. Those They're starved of like high level rugby since the EP Kings left the Pro 14 and before that the Super Rugby. It's a big stadium, but we're interested to see how many people actually get in there. That's a very good game. I would have loved to have watched that high-level French team versus the Stormers, but I also understand that the Stormers are taking the game to the people. They sometimes also play at the Stellenbosch Stadium in Stellenbosch, which is kind of cool. Um, Jean, what impressed you about the Stormers this weekend?
I think the Stormers have done 2 things that are very impressive to me. One, they've managed to get together a group of guys with a deep sense of belonging and belief, um, who have bought in to the ethos and the team in general. Um, and I think that's where Dobson is sort of winning, if I can say it like that, similar to Rassi, in that he's got a squad of players that will they're gonna fight for each other. They're gonna go the distance in order. And I think that has allowed them to achieve the second thing, which for me is more impressive for a South African club side, which is to go on tour and not lose. Like that is incredibly impressive. It took Rassie a long time with the Springboks to get that monkey off our shoulder, of being able to go and tour and believing in ourselves to go to places like Stade de France or the Aviva or Twickenham and be like, man, who cares? It's a rugby pitch. Whether it be Loftus, whether it be the Cake Tin down under, the MCG, with the Springboks, and I think that's what Dobson has achieved is this Stormers group that he has. Wherever they go, they're like, it's a rugby pitch. It's a pitch, and we're the Stormers, and we're going to play like the Stormers. And I think hats off to him for achieving that. But he has played a little sneaky joker there, sneaking in Nick Mallet to help him out in the Champions Cup. That was an ace in the hole. And
Yeah, there was a,
I'm sure his commentary of it's to help with the French teams. Sure,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that was super interesting. I was watching that on Friday night and I was like, what's going on? And then sent some feelers around as you alluded to on the URC rewind. You made some calls and so did I, and everybody was in the dark about that. But yeah, that's quite clever. I mean, Nick Mallet has a lot of experience having played in France, having coached in France, speaking French reasonably fluently. And yeah, we've seen Nick on Supersport. He's always got sort of insight. It's almost the rugby equivalent of Steve Compere. It's very, he's very, he's very, yeah, he's very fluent in rugby.
Yeah,
So
he's a
yeah,
character.
credit to the Stormers in terms of how they built the team. I think the Stormers are showing that like too much of a good thing might not be good. Like you could develop players and then they get picked by the Springboks, or you could bring players in, like the Stormers have brought in Reinach and that type of thing. So there's nothing wrong with like transfers and stuff, but you want to balance your team in terms of not having too much disruption because they have three really high quality Springboks guys who are like full on 2 years out from a World Cup in the first team. We don't know what's going to happen between now and the World Cup because with Rassie's team, it's always evolving. But Kobus Reinach, Damien Willemse, Shash Feinberg and Gomez Zulu, these guys are like dead set in the team. But then there's those guys. But then if you look at the broader Stormer squad, Murat's got test experience. Ben Jason Dixon's in line, the succession line behind Peter Steph Toey alongside Vincent Tutuka and Joan Venter, who recently re-signed with the Lions. They've got Clinton Swart, the veteran. He really made his name playing inside center for the Cheetahs at Super Rugby level. Um, they've got a lot of like up and coming players like Jonathan Roach, who usually plays inside center but played outside center for this game. They've got Currie Cup winning Dylan Mart, who had a really good game against Munster, made a bit of a mistake in this game, but overall had a solid game. They've got highly rated Wandisile Simelane, who's more of an outside center but doing okay at fullback. And yeah, the 6-2 split helped them again this week. They rotated. We assessed their team last week because we had the team sheet when we recorded on Thursday. It was the only South African team which we had the team sheet for. And now they play La Rochelle or Roland O'Gara in Eastern Cape. And I picked. They're definitely gonna play their three Springboks and maybe bring some other people in as well. A guy like Rowan Ackerman. Uh, uh, Bulls coach Johan Ackerman's son, he's played really well. He's got a lot of experience playing in England to the extent that England were trying to cap him like they were trying to cap a few other players like Bernard Jansen van der Rensburg. It looks like they will cap. Any final thoughts, then, Binkosi, about the Stormers?
I would say that they're kind of built very well. Like you guys mentioned, they managed to go to Europe and they're winning their games and they're still unbeaten. And this is practically without most of their senior players. And the fact that I even saw that now majority of like your Malherbe and who else is also now in the coaching staff. So I think they have a really good plan. Dobson seems like he was talking about it, especially preseason, that he's trying to build something for Cape Town. And so far I can kind of see where they're going.
Yeah, they only played 2 games at home this season, and they won both of those, and they played 5 games away this season, and they've won all of that. Brock Harris is full and retired, and he is the scrum coach, which is great. I think Devo Divanach is also helping out as well, even though he's like his play. Devo Divanach is sort of player coach. All right, so that's the Stormers. Now we move on to Loftus
You forgot about
Versfeld.
Zach Thornton.
Oh, yeah,
Thornton. He's
young
also
young player. Yeah,
fringe for the Springboks.
yeah, he's also a fringe of the Springboks as
And
well. I mean, former.
and
It's
he's
also
a
even worse. It's also even
Yeah,
worse.
kind
how
of,
could you
kind
forget
of.
Lisa
Is he?
B's boyfriend?
Tell her husband. Tell her husband you said that. So yeah, they've got a lot of guys who are like on the fringes who aren't getting that much game time per se in Test rugby, but are very very good. So that the balance is right. And yes, they're somewhat lucky. I mean, you have to have a degree of luck in terms of not getting injuries. And we've been singing Yuri Matea's praises as well, very much deservedly so. Um, Bulls, Loftus against defending champions Bordeaux. Interesting game, Sean. You guys were in it, and then as Tembinkosi said, the yellow cards sort of like threw you guys off a little. Your thoughts on what went down on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, look at first of all, let's start with credit to the Bulls. I think in the first half, um, they fronted up massively, and it was a hell of a match to watch. Like it was exciting. That was good rugby. Um, they played expansively. They kept Bordeaux guessing as to where they were going to go. Um, they didn't use like obviously different coaches, different strokes. Um, I would have thought going for the scrum penalties a bit more and utilizing Pollard's boot, um, just to keep it ticking over. But they played really well, and you can't fault them. The ref also didn't look keen to give scrum penalties. Like he wasn't going to let them milk it endlessly. So I think they adapted well to the game, and certainly at halftime, it felt like the Bulls had the game in the bag, and if they could keep their foot on the Tigers' neck, it was done for. But then Bordeaux came out second half and started swinging. I think the yellow card did cost the Bulls, but there's another moment actually, and when we were watching the game, you could feel that was the moment where the Bulls sort of lost. They went in for a try, and they were doing pick and goes, and we were shouting obscenely, "Just go for the drop goal! Just go for the droppy." Pollard was in the perfect position to put it over. Slight angle. Bordeaux wouldn't have reached him in a million years. He could have had all the time in the world to kick it over, get the 3 points, and push it to 36. And he went for a cross kick, and Pinard read it brilliantly, picked up the ball, came in chasing, um, and that sort of you could feel that's where the Bulls sort of just deflated a bit, and that's where the game was lost. And that was its I think it was at 62 minutes, 63 minutes. Um, and from there it was all on the back foot. It was just constantly on the back foot. I'm sure there's Bulls fans out there screaming and shouting about penalties and offsides and all of that. Um, but at the end of the day, you can't let your shoulders drop, and you can't let your head drop like that. The drop goal was there, and if I promise you, if they'd have taken that drop goal, Bordeaux might have buckled under the pressure, because it would then have been an additional 3 points. So it would have been close to a two, maybe a three-score game. And I mean, you've expended no effort. You kick the ball over, you jog back to the halfway line. Come on, boys, we're ready, we're waiting. Kick the ball. So you get that mentality in your head, and now Bordeaux is sitting there thinking, shit, we're at 1,380 meters above sea level. Our lungs are burning, our legs are burning, and these guys are like, come, 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 we want to play. Why are you guys taking so long? Understand? And instead, the complete opposite happened. Bordeaux got, they were like, wow, this is the best attacking opportunity they've had, and we just took it. We just grabbed it from them in broad daylight. And yeah, I think the momentum literally went from the Bulls to Bordeaux, and it was one-way traffic from there.
It's interesting that the Bulls went with a 6-2 split as well. They had a really good team though. Especially in the locks, they were Kobus Visser and if JF van Heerden, very good young players, big oaks as well. Marco van Staden played. Marcel Coetzee, a veteran Marcel Coetzee, started at 8. He can play just about anywhere in the back three. I think Sebastian de Klerk had a few good moments early. Obviously,
He
you
was
also
on
got
fire. He was
um,
on fire.
misstepped by the bounce, and then Louis Biabere said he tackled him before the ball, but he still Louis Biabere still scored. Kenan
Yes.
Moody had a fantastic game in a losing effort, stepping 3 players at one point. I think he must have stepped like at least 5 players in total in the game, creating a lot on his own. But towards the end, there was an opportunity for maybe Moody to score, and then he passed, and the game broke off a bit, and then Bordeaux went the other way and then scored, which like pulled the score a little further away. Um, yeah, they had a really good front row on the bench, but like as you said, the ref wasn't really playing to the scrum as much. Rowan Nokia was on the bench. Elrich Low was on the bench. Andre Roof came off the bench recently, joined the Bulls from the Cheetahs and made an impact.
Wilco Louw also came off the
Um,
bench.
yeah, yeah, that's the Springbok front row of Johan Grobler, Gerard Steenkamp, and Wilco Low that I was referring to. Um, Midfield, Rolf Versteed, David Kriel got a yellow card. Pollard put his arm out and got a yellow card. Demikosi, these are your neighbors. You beat them last week at Loftus and they lose again. Your thoughts?
I'm surprised.
Mm,
I'm actually surprised. But Jelly Bear, Peno, and
mm,
what's the 10?
mm.
Is it, yeah,
Yeah,
I think they were playing a really good game.
yeah.
The only thing I would say I would want to criticize, I think maybe Papir should have gotten on a little bit earlier
Hmm.
because towards the end, I think Divet was not giving the quick ball that I wanted to see them kind of go for it. It seems like he wanted to slow down because he thought they had the game in the bag, they were in the lead. So I thought maybe if Papir came on a little bit earlier, he would have played a faster game. But otherwise, the thing I would also mention is that the French team's tactical kicking was kind of on point. It kind of kept the Bulls on the defensive side. They controlled the game
Hmm.
like they controlled the game from like the 15. The kicks were designed to always push the Bulls back front row every single time. So let's just get them to be in their own half and not allow them the space to come and run around. So I think they did really well to a losing effort though.
Yeah, I think we have to give them credit because Bordeaux did send over the best possible team they could. I mean, people we would recognize would be Lions product Carlos Sadi, who then, now, well, he came through at the Western Province youth system and then he went to the Lions on loan to get some game time. He went back to Province for a bit, but they couldn't quite match his salary, so he went to the Sharks for like a season and then he popped over to Bordeaux. I mean, yeah, Luku and Jalibe at the pivot, Moifana. Another person we recognize as former Lions, Bulls, Sharks, Rowan Jansen van Rensburg. He also played for the Sale Sharks, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't drop their heads that much if I were the Bulls. There's still 3 more games to play. They could still make it into the knockout stage, even win the log. Yeah, if certain things went their way.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think for
mm,
the Bulls it's just it's frustrating because they had the
mm.
game. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think but I also think and with all the respect in the world to the Lions beating us 2 weekends ago, if the same team that jogged out Saturday jogged out 2 weeks ago, it might have been a different story. Not saying it's
True.
guaranteed, but it might have been a different story. But yeah, that first half was definitely best game of club rugby long time. Long time.
It's actually
Do you know
interesting
what I also
because
think?
yeah, go ahead, Tim Kosi.
I think also the Bulls need to have like that old Jake system of let's outpower you and go for the poles. It seems like you
Yeah.
guys are trying this new expensive play, but have forgotten your roots. And I think that kind of costs you in kind of games. I think sometimes you just kind of do what you do best, then add on, instead of
I
trying
think
to change the whole system altogether.
Yeah, it speaks to game management, and maybe they're just trying to quite find the balance. Also, their defensive structures and stuff like that. So, I think Ackerman would say, look, we're in the teething phase, and then we're going to go through some tough times now, and then it's going to pay off maybe into the season or next season, because they're trying to like find their feet with this new system. All right, so now we move on from the Bulls. The Sharks went to France with a very much mixed team. A lot of players I like seeing, and a lot of players with high potential, but they've not selected any of the more recent Springboks, and they've sent a lot of players who lost to Connacht a week ago in Ireland back to Durban to focus on the Saturdays game. And I figured that obviously everyone thought the Sharks were going to lose, but I thought Toulouse were going to put like 100 points on us, but that's really down to the fact that Toulouse came off the gas a little. They seem to be managing their resources and their bodies and the game. So Toulouse started off really well, made a massive score. They let the Sharks in slightly, and then they Toulouse into the game quite well as well. But on the positive side, the players that did stand out for the Sharks were Eddie Swart starting at hooker. He did reasonably well. Mbanda, quite a young prop. He did well. JJ Skippers on loan from the Pumas, quite a solid player. He did solid. The whole back three was young players in Nick Hatton, Patukulkani, who's soon to be going to Tembi end of the year. He's going to be a Lion. He's going to be running out for them in Challenge Cup and URC. And then young Matt Romano, another player who won the Under 20 World Cup. Jordan Hendricks had a solid game. Bros Brodier had the game I hope he had. The the midfield of Francois Venter and Lalou Malan was reasonably solid. Hakim Kunene, who burst onto the scene about 2 years ago and had in different forms since, he had a solid game starting at fullback, played the whole game. I was really stoked to see Griquas Currie Cup winning captain Sebo Glamini come off the bench again for the Sharks. I hope we actually sign him outright. And yeah, Jean Smith fly off. He did well. Oh, and shout out to friend of the program, PK Sobatle, who gave an assist for the Sharks last try of the game. So yeah, Sharks are going to have to regroup. No losing bonus point or anything like that, and really like try and put the screw in on Saracens on Saturday. Saracens, who they did play a preseason game against more recently. Temikosi, did you get a chance to watch this game, and what were your thoughts?
I kind of thought exactly what happened would happen, especially coming back from last. I think was it last year when you played the same team, or was it a different team
We
in
played the
the
same
Challenge
team, but we
Cup?
played in Durban. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the score is pretty much the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, no, the last year's one was a little bit reasonable, but I thought they outplayed you.
Mhm.
Yes, most of the players did well. You could, from a losing effort, they put in their best, but
Mm.
I don't know. I'm waiting to see what is going on with the Sharks. What's happening? I think I should be asking you, like, what's going
Yeah.
on now?
So we're in a very similar situation to Munster were last season in that we've let our coach go now. We're going to have a interim coach. We don't know if JP Peterson's going to take over full time after that. So Munster had a back and forth season, sort of a lot of indecision, a lot of no, not clarity and things like that. So Sharks for this game, they lost to Connacht with like a sort of mixed team. And the season hasn't gone well for them in terms of like injuries and losing Springboks and now suspensions and stuff like that. Like we could have really used Eben Etzebeth for the Saracens game. I think we could possibly defeat Saracens without him, but like with this run, just to salvage the season. So we're in this flux, and we're just going to make the most we can. What I will also say is that we do have the SA Under 20 winning team. And so that means there's a lot of really good young players coming through the system. So like a guy like Yaku Williams didn't even play, and we, myself and you, have spoken about him on this podcast in the Currie Cup. He had a good game from fullback. Yaku Williams, who then played and won the Under 20 SA. We used to be the Under 20 Currie Cup, but now it's just called the Under 20 SA Cup.
Even
And in
Vusi.
essence, yeah, Vusi is now back training with the Under 20 national team. So Vusi Moyo, that's why you don't see him within the team. But I'm not that upset that like Vusi Moyo is not playing just yet because he's a young guy. Yes, he's actually quite bulky for a 19-year-old, but you don't want to rush people too soon. When they're not like fully developed in terms of their skills and in terms of their bodies and stuff like that. So we do have players. Look, in an emergency, we got George Whitehead in last week and he didn't play so well. The province slash Stormers have Clinton Swart in, so you can draw from other teams. Like I said last week, I was a little disappointed that we brought Leroux Malan in. He's quite a big guy, but there are guys like Sago Kamlashe and Zwelendaba, who Zwelendaba played for Griquas and won the Currie Cup, and then Sago Kamlashe from the Pumas, who we could have drawn in, just like people brought in Dylan Maat, people. Shout out to Gershon Ware, who played Champions Cup rugby this weekend off the bench for Sale
He was
Sharks.
also
So
stepping. He was also stepping people. Like I saw him just stepping. Like when he got on, like that is a net loss for South Africa. Like I don't
yeah,
know why
exactly.
anyone didn't buy him.
Yeah, he's only on loan, so hopefully, I mean, he was in Stormers preseason, and him and Dylan Maat and Caleb Abrams, those three Griquas players. So a ton of Griquas players went on loan to URC teams, and then like one of them is now playing for an English team, which is fantastic. Jean, we watch Toulouse often, and yet they still surprise us with their incredible quality. What can we learn from this team, and as what can all South African teams learn from this incredible French team who marry sort of foreign players, established internationals plus youth team players so well?
I think there's three things you can learn. One, um, first of all, you need a cohesive core, right? And it's very easy to sit here and point out and say, look, they've got a cohesive core. Look how they all play together all the time. They've got the spine of a team that doesn't really go anywhere, and it's pretty easy for the French teams to do that because they don't care about summer internationals. Dupont has played more minutes in the Southern Hemisphere in the challenge in the Champions Cup than he's played international rugby in the Southern Hemisphere because he's not interested in summer internationals. But to us, is summer internationals, or to the Northern Hemisphere summer internationals. So it's
Mm,
very easy for them to have that approach and that cohesiveness where they've got the spine of the team and they remain incredibly aligned. I think where South African teams can take a leaf from that book is select your non-Springbok team, right? So your fringe Springbok players, your up-and-coming talents, and they are your starting team, and your Springboks are essentially your bench, right?
mm,
Unless you're going into a heavyweight match or it's a knockout match. But even then, have your core team, your spine team, and that's what the Stormers are doing, right? The Stormers said we can't bank on our Springboks being available. We can't bank on them winning the game for us because they might be away or more than likely they'll be injured. If you're playing for the Sharks, more than likely you'll be banned for 12 weeks. So you can't bank on having your Springboks there. So build a core, like step number one, build a core of non-Springboks who are highly competent. They don't need to be showstoppers. You can build them into showstoppers. Build a
mm,
core of highly competent individuals and have them playing together, and your Springboks complement them. Step number one. Step number two, grow your coaching ticket. I promise you, the growth we've seen is not in the Stormers is not because Nick Mallet stepped in the last 2 weeks. He
mm,
has been behind the scenes. I promise you, Dobson has been calling him. They've been chatting for a long time, and Nick Mallet has been giving him pointers. The growth of the Stormers this season is phenomenal. Your players that are retiring, don't send them off to go and run a coffee shop or whatever because they need something to fill their time. Get them in as coaches. There's incredible knowledge and IP there. Look at what Brock Harris did for the Stormers scrum. We were writing off the Stormers scrum in the beginning of the season. We were
mm,
saying it's done for. These guys are never going to be competitive. And now they've got one of the best scrums in both the Champions Cup and the URC, right? And then lastly, it's all about mindset and identity. Toulouse has got this incredible identity. You play for the red. You play for Toulouse. It is your team. It is your club. It is your home. It is your family. For us, it's tribal. I belong to the Bulls. He's a shark. He sucks. No, I belong to the Bulls. I play for the Bulls. This is my home. This is my family. I must play for this team like I play for the Springboks. And I think that's again where the Stormers are taking the step forward. And I think we'll probably see in the next season, towards the end of 2026, we'll see teams like the Bulls and the Sharks and hopefully the Lions start catching up to this and realize we need bigger coaching tickets. We need ex players on board showing us the nuance, showing us how we got this done. A lot of those players who come back from overseas who want to do their sunset years here, get them in. They've got the IP. They know how teams like Toulouse play. And that's what makes Toulouse beautiful is they've got this incredible in-house institutional knowledge of how we play, and it gets passed down almost like a tradition because they've got incredible forwards, they've got lightning backs, they've got game-breaking players. Those are all the cherries. The fact of the matter is they've got an incredible cake to put those cherries on.
I think we can, yeah, we've seen Toulouse look really good. We've seen Bordeaux look really good of recently. La Rochelle have dropped a little, but they've won two Champions Cups more recently. Um, we can't replicate everything, but there's a lot to be learned here about cohesion. Yes, the French league is actually the richest league, and then it's followed by the Japanese league. The French league is also weirdly more popular than football in France. And they've got sort of, but South African teams and other teams have this as well, like wealthy benefactors and stuff like that. There's sort of investment in a more balanced squad. And what's interesting about the French league is that the top teams and all the teams do this. They have a good depth because they have a big salary cap, that type of thing. But what they tend to do is that they always play their quote unquote best team or their first team, who they feel is like the informed team or the best quality team at home. And then in general, they play what they call sort of like a more of a second team away because they're trying to get sneak away wins, but always win your home games, win every home game. It's like an obsession. So that's also a big factor. One other thing that's interesting is that if you follow all the 14 South African unions on Instagram and different social media platforms and watch their sort of mini documentaries, and especially the four URC unions, one other aspect that I see is that all our gyms are very rustic. Whereas like Connacht have like a world-class facility. They just opened now. Leinster have a world-class facility that's just open now. So I think there needs to be a degree of investment in that, but it's not just about new equipment. And I've seen this on multiple French rugby podcasts as well. The level of sports science and SNC, strength and conditioning in France is way better because Ramos plays a lot of games, whereas we're like afraid to play Apaleli Fasi 2 games in a row because we consider something might happen to him. So that's something else we need to invest in terms of IP and in terms of effort and maybe even investment. Um, yeah. But now we move on to the Challenge Cup. Demikosi, you took on you took on Benetton at Ellis Park, Lions versus Benetton at Ellis Park. I watched the game very attentively. It was Saturday at 3 o'clock, and then unfortunately, you also got a yellow card here and there, and things sort of fell apart. I was really hoping the Lions would win this one. They were in the game, but then Benetton ended stronger. Your thoughts on this unfortunate start to the Challenge Cup season, but things aren't lost yet.
Clearly, Van Rooyen is not watching this podcast or is not even subscribed because Benetton kind of did what they did the last time we played them. And I think this is like I don't think we have a win against Benetton. Like ever since I don't think we honestly have a win. And if we do, we have one or two. But, but yeah, like the Argentinians and Italians coming together, that passion, I think that's what's driving them and they're playing really well. But from a Lions point of view, I don't know. We kind of had the game. We up until the yellow card, we were kind of attacking, counter attacking at the right times. But as the game went on, we lost kind of like the ruck battle or the turnover battle. who's this? Their number, their hooker was just winning like turnovers, like it was just Christmas. So it was kind of like that. And also, Benetton, also like I said the last time we played them, they were able to isolate the Lions when someone was running with the ball. They managed to stop the offloads by making sure that they hit you below the knee. That means you don't even have a chance to just go up. You go directly down. And when you do that, all the other players are kind of still waiting around, waiting for that offload. But that's when I think I'm not sure what's his name, but the hooker was just there to always just win that turnover. I think we lost the game roundabout there. That was kind of like the overall game. I think we lost the game there, but we should have won. Like I don't know, I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about the Lions.
I mean, you guys had a good start. You played, you selected your best possible team, and
Yeah,
yeah, you just got edged. I'm really impressed how Benetton sort of ended the game. I think the yellow card didn't help, but at the same time, I would have hoped for more of a fight. All's not
yeah.
lost. You could still qualify for the knockout stage. Jean, your neighbors lost, but in a valiant effort. Your thoughts?
Yeah, um, I feel the Lions. Yeah, it's difficult to put into words. I emphasize with Tembi and Corsi because like there's a lot of talent there, and I think the reason the Lions might have struggled so much is there was a player of theirs that was medically forced to retire like what was it, 2, 3 weeks ago, due to an injury. I think it was a neck injury. And he was forced to retire. And I think that just had a massively negative impact on them because he's the type of player that would like guard the ball, counter ruck the whole time,
Like we
and
don't have a
also
sealer. Yeah,
yeah, and also also go for turnovers. And I think the Lions now lost one of their attacking threats in him. That being said, I feel like the Lions and the Sharks have similar problems. They don't have a 10. And that's where I think the Bulls and the Bulls and the Stormers are slightly outshining them is they've got decent-ish tens. The Sharks options currently are Siam Masuku and Jordan Hendrickse, neither of
And
which are
John
similar at
and John Smith, yeah.
and John Smith. Those guys don't really they don't stand out. They don't play attacking rugby. They're not excessively good off the tee, so you can say we can play a penalty game and force them into penalties and go for poles. I mean, they get the job done, but this is what you get for having tens who don't have clear decision making, tactical nuance, things like that. As harsh as it is to say, if I was the Lions or the Sharks, the next 10 I can sign, I'm signing. I don't care if it's 19 out of Affis or 35 fresh from La Rochelle or Munster. If he's got the ability to get the game moving, I'm signing him, right? Because that is 100% where I feel like the game is being won and lost for those two teams. Even you take the Bulls with Andre Pollard. Yes, that cross kick maybe didn't pay off, and it was the moment where the momentum truly swung against us. But we were at least attacking. For most part, the Sharks' attack looks to me like whoever manages to get the ball and hit a gap at the same time, you are now suddenly the playmaker. So yeah, I think the unstructuredness is what's coming back to bite us here, and it's glorious. I mean, unstructured play can lead to some wonderful moments, wonderful moments. But you also need structure the rest of the 90%.
Yeah, the player you're referring to is Jaco Visagi, much
Yeah,
traveled
Jacob Saki.
hooker, formerly at the Bulls and all over the place. Also plays for Toulouse at one point. From Paul as well, 35, he had the neck injury. He was reasonably good in the URC last season and stood out a little when he captained the Lions in the Currie Cup, even in their loss to Borland in Wellington. But then I expected a bit more from the Lions because they had just won 3 games in a row at home in Johannesburg after like a harder tour of overseas in the north. Um, yeah, plays that stood out. I mean, Kellen Beku did get a yellow card, but he did play well and he did score a try. Okrapi's Monet van der Berg played solid. Etienne Oosthuizen, and I said again, he looks like he's got his conditioning much better than last season. Franco Marais put in a good shift again. Asnate Klapakane gave away a penalty early, but had a relatively good game. Eddie Davids, again on loan from Griquas, he played reasonably well. Darren Landsberg, always great off the bench. Renzo Duplessis, not as much of an impact as last week. Nico Steyn came on, had a solid game. The Lions fly-off options are veteran Chris William-Smith, Lulabalo Dobela, who wasn't in the game today, as well as Gio Lombard. Uh, and then obviously
Lombards.
they let what's name they let Kate Volater move across
Walter.
to the Bulls because of like a
The
fallout he
Bulls.
had with the coaching staff. So yeah, Lions next game. Hopefully they pick themselves up. Playing away, by the way. Uh, Now we move on to a team we haven't spoken about since the Currie Cup, the Free State Cheetahs. They are in the Challenge Cup. They get invited to the Challenge Cup every year because the people kind of feel bad for them, and I would too, because they were asked to leave Super Rugby to go play in the Pro 14, and then they were asked to leave the Pro 14 and turn it into URC to go nowhere. So the Lions, sorry, the Cheetahs play SA Cup, they play Currie Cup, and they play EPCR Challenge Cup. And they do reasonably well. This year, like previous years, they don't play at home in Bloemfontein. I watched an Irish podcast the other day, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to go to Bloemfontein." No, you're not. You're going to Amsterdam, which is great. It's also a very Dutch and Afrikaans almost identical. Um, so unfortunately for this game, they had to play away in England at Sandy Park against Exeter Chiefs or Joseph Dueba's team, and Exeter for the most part they ran away. Yeah, Exeter were in the lead throughout. The Cheetahs fought back in stages. And it's interesting to look at the Cheetahs team and how it's evolved since the Currie Cup. They've loaned and or bought some players from other unions, like Xander Duplessis, who was formerly at the Lions, guys who maybe didn't feel that they were going to get enough game time in the URC teams and didn't want to ride the bench. Jean, were you able to catch this game on Sunday?
No, unfortunately not. I had to miss this game. I had some work things to do on Sunday.
Oh, no rest for the wicked. Um, Guys that stood out for me are Victor Sekekete, another veteran, another former Griquas player at lock. Um, yeah, Jaco Jansen van Rensburg at scrum half. He played reasonably well. Munir Hatzenberg of the Hatzenberg family came off in the 70th minute, had a solid shift as well. If we look quickly at the Exeter team, they pretty much played a reasonably first team. Yeah, they went for it. Feo Boso from England, he played really well. Played the whole game and scored a try. Joseph Dueba came on in the 58th minute and played very good. He seems to be enjoying himself in England. Henry Slade
And
kicked one, two, three, four, five, six conversions, or at least kicks. You were saying, Temikosi?
I was also about to add that the Wallabies in their team also played really well, like Lene Gitao,
Mm,
Scott, yeah, like most of them were kind of like, especially along with your Henry Slade, like they played
mm,
a real. I think for me, the Cheetahs were kind of like outclassed at all aspects of the game. I
mhm,
think the only thing that I would say that they were better at than Exeter was like the line out, and that's pretty much that was
mm.
it. And yeah, they tried. They tried. They
Yeah,
need
that's
to
Victor.
improve their team.
Yeah, that's Vika Sekekete's speciality, running the line out. But yeah, you're right. W- I'm gonna shoot it to you guys quickly because we're relatively new to this tournament. I think that the Northern Hemisphere guys who used to see their teams play their best possible team in every single game of this tournament. But now with things evolving, personally, I don't mind that not only South African teams rotated somewhat, but uh, uh, Lions went full strength, Bulls went full strength, but Stormers and Sharks went sort of a mixed team. Sharks went very much sort of Currie Cup youth team, and Stormers went more like we're on tour already, let's go mixed team. Whereas other teams in the tournament, some of them went full strength, some of them didn't. I don't actually mind that because you get four group stage games and you got to manage your resources. So the idea is that we'll play the broader squad and we'll try and get a losing bonus point, maybe even try and get two losing bonus points away, that type of thing. But then when we get Saris at home, put the screw on it. When we get Sail, the Sharks might actually target Sale Sharks away in England, in Manchester or in Sale, as a possible 4 points or 5 points and that type of thing. Even if we give Sale 2 or 1 point away. So I've seen some Northern Hemisphere Irish people on podcasts and our own Global Gay Lines podcasts, by the way, like and subscribe. Complain that, oh, why are the teams rotating? It sort of takes away from the tournament. I personally don't mind it at all. Jean, do you get uptight if teams rotate?
I think it's inevitable for us at this stage. And I think the depth of talent that I was speaking about a couple of moments ago when we were discussing how can South African teams better tackle this particular challenge. Um, that needs to be built, right? It
Mm,
needs to be built. You can't have 15 guys coming into a team all believing they're the best in their position, right? We know that all-star teams in rugby rarely work. You need the right players to and the right amount of mix. As much as you need guys who will quietly grind away, you do need flair players. You do need guys with a little bit of windgat in them. And I think that for us, rotating players for now, I think it is still acceptable. I think next year I could understand the frustration starting to come through because we've then been in the competition now 2023, 2024, 2025. Once we go into the 2026, 2027 season, you should have a squad who's played there. I mean, even the Sharks who are rotating like crazy, that depth has to start paying off at some point. You need to have your first string, second string, third string, and you need to know who's playing where. You can't just continuously build depth and not start separating the corn and the chaff. So I think for now doesn't really irk me, but I do get where a lot of people are coming from. This is an amazing competition to be part of. It's an amazing cup to contend. And I do understand if people feel like, oh, South African teams are not taking it seriously. Well, the Bulls and the Stormers surely are. I think for the other two unions, other three
Well,
unions,
The Stormers rotated. They didn't necessarily play their
but they
best team, but they
won.
still won. They still won.
But they won.
I mean, everybody's trying to win. Um, it's an interesting dynamic though because, yeah, Demikosi, your thoughts?
I was just going to add on. I think the fundamental difference between us and them is that when the French or the English and Irish, let's say the Northern Hemisphere teams,
Mm,
their second string team is still kind of filled with internationals just from different countries,
mm,
right? Whereas our second string team most likely has no internationals because the only internationals that we have in our teams are the Springboks. We don't, well, I've said for the Stormers, but we don't sign outside players. So when you factor that in, our second string team is kind of weaker compared to the Northern Hemisphere second string team because
mm,
majority of them, like I said, are internationals in Samoa, in Tonga, in Argentina, or wherever. So when you bring that into play, whereas our in South Africa, the second string team is someone that was just playing in the Currie Cup last week. Now, is it the
mhm.
same type of level or the same skill level as the other Northern Hemisphere team? No, I think that's why. So I kind of get where they're coming from. But yeah, like John said, we just need a better,
Because
stronger
good,
squad.
yeah, we need to get to that point though. It's worth noting that it's not only South African teams that rotated. Bayonne didn't put out their first team. They've put out very much their second team. A bunch of the English teams sort of had a mixed teams, more eking to the second team, except for like Exeter were playing in the Challenge Cup and they put out full on their first team. Munster sort of rotated somewhat. Through injury, but also through sort of squad rotation. They lost to Bath. Bath have the best depth in the Prem, and they put out pretty much their best possible team. Everybody fit. We're going to see because we only had one game this season. The other point is that the Stormers used the Currie Cup as a means to play the under-21 team and the fringe players and a bunch of Blitzboks who we saw this weekend play for the Blitzboks in Cape Town. By the way, I was in the sort of stadium slash V&A waterfront area over the weekend, and the atmosphere was fantastic. Everybody was like in high spirits and lots of Springbok t-shirts and stuff like that. So the Blitzbook Cape Town weekend is always a lot of fun. So the Sharks did the same thing, but then the Sharks had 10 Springboks away, and then our second team, the guys that we sort of groomed to be like, hey, the Springboks are gone. You guys have to step up, like Bradley Davids, like Lucanio Arm was like out of form and he wasn't entirely fit and that type of thing. It was literally 10 Springboks away and then 15 players injured. So Plumtree could like point to that and say, I did have a plan. Of course, I would be somewhat critical if you go into a season where Jordan Hendricks, who I do, right, was injured going into the season, and then Apaleli Fasi, our best fullback, and then after him, like the levels just drop. He got injured as well playing for the Springboks, so that hurts you. But if you're going into the season, then if your whole season sort of hangs on the likelihood that both Apaleli Fasi and Jordan Hendricks stay fit for most of the season, it's not going to go well, that type of thing. And then unfortunately, Masuku got injured and he wasn't in great form either. So we'll see what happens in the next 4 games, how other teams might rotate, teams who might have played their first team this week in the Challenge Cup or the Champions Cup, and then see how what team they put out. For teams like the Cheetahs, though, this is their World Cup, basically. They're just going to play the best possible team all the time. So, we'll look now forward to the fixtures of this coming week on Saturday. If I can find the Champions Cup. Okay, so Stormers, Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in Eastern Cape in Gqeberha. Stormers versus La Rochelle. It says Stade La Rochelle. Yeah, Stade La Rochelle. Yeah. Or let's just say Laurent Nogala's team. 3 o'clock kickoff. Gentlemen, what you got? I'll go with you first, Mbikosi.
I'm going with the Stormers. They're having a good season, and I think their last game with the La Rochelle was also kind of like, I think it was also in Cape Town. It was like a spectacular game. So I'm expecting a lot of flair. I'm expecting Damian Willems, Sasha also on the pitch. I'm expecting a Stormers win.
What did La Rochelle do this past week? They beat Leicester Tigers.
They won.
They defeated Leicester Tigers, 39-20. Okay. All right, so that's the Stormers game, 3 o'clock kickoff. Don't miss it. Prime time, Sharks versus Saracens. Sharks are drafting in all the big guns, except for Ebenezer, who's on holiday. Temikosi, what you got?
It's a tough call, especially because I think both teams are owned by the same person. So they're supposed to be doing some sort of
there's a slight crossover.
So
some of them have
I'm not sure how it's
the same investors somewhat. Yeah. Not directly the same person, but similar investors.
Yeah. So I'm expecting that in the few years there's gonna be some sort of link where you see players going from Saracen to Sharks, hopefully. I really, really wanna back the Sharks at home, but from what they've been showing us this year, the coaching system that was not fixed, some players don't want to play. I don't know. Like, I'm thinking it's a bet to go against them. because when the Springboks are back, they can just change the whole game and win. But the data says Saracens is winning this one.
Yeah, okay. Jean, do you think Owen Farrell will use his arms to tackle this weekend, or will he just leave his arms in England?
Uh, that's a pretty tough call to make. Yeah, I want to believe in the Sharks so much. And I actually have a weird feeling that it's going to be a good game. It's not going to be one-way traffic. Um, I've got this feeling that the Sharks are. I won't say that they're going to hit it like a redemption turn or redemption streak, but they'll manage to save a bit of face. I think the coaching setup changing is a good thing. As far as Owen Farrell goes, I'm hoping the ref is attentive to the difference between with intent and without intent to wrap, as we have so clearly been shown over the Autumn Nation series. That is apparently the defining criteria between penalty, yellow, and red. So we shall see whether or not his arms come and whether there's intent to use them.
All right. I'm picking a Sharks win. I'm gonna salvage what rest we have this season. And then on Sunday at 5:15 prime time, it's Northampton Saints, last year's finalists, versus the Bulls. Demikosi, again, you. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with the Bulls. I think there needs to be some sort of turning point also with them, and this could be their game. Plus, I don't know. I kind of feel like Bulls and Northampton Saints could be like some sort of derby going forward if we stay in this tournament long enough. So I'm gonna go with the Bulls.
John?
Yeah, I think the Bulls will be able to sneak it this week. Um, I think we're playing away if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think the Bulls will be able to sneak it. Lots of guys there that have experience up north. And if we go with a full strength team again, I think now that they realize, we have the possibility to close this out and go by a big margin. I think, and especially Pollard, who spent a lot of time playing up there, it would be absolutely ludicrous not to have him at 10. Uh, LaRue at 15, yes, please, but please pack his hands, the ones that pass and catch properly. That would also add, and he's gonna pop out of the closet one of these days and just kill me in my own house. But yeah, I think if we go full strength, good match, and the Bulls to take it.
Yeah, I think it should be an interesting game. I'd also be interested to see former Sharks lock JJ van der Mech. He's recently signed at Northampton from Stade Francais. And speaking of Stade Francais, they play the Cheetahs on Saturday at 3 p.m. It is not in Bloemfontein. It is at the Rugby National Stadium in Amsterdam. Uh, Demikosi, you got Cheetahs or Stade Francais?
I think a safe bet is tough and say. Uh, if it was a home match, maybe it could have been different. Maybe they could have actually been the edge that they need to actually win the match. But from their performance, I don't see them. Okay, I don't know how good Stade Francais is, but judging that it's a French team and I expect them to be a little bit sharper in terms of execution, and I think that alone might overpower the Cheetahs.
I think Stade Francais actually played a rotated second team in the first round of the competition because they're trying to do it as best they can in the Pro 14 this season. So it'll be interesting to see what actually pans out. Cheetahs will obviously play their whoever's their best team and is fit. Jean, who you got in the Netherlands?
I'm going to go with the Cheetahs, eh? Stade Francais, I don't think they have the capacity to be focusing right now on the Champions Cup. Not when I believe they're fighting relegation in the top
Oh,
14.
yeah.
They could go down
Yeah.
to the Pro de Trois, which is obviously the
Mm.
best rugby league in the world. It's the only rugby league in the world where four yellow cards don't ruin the match.
Yeah.
Um, and it would be fantastic if we could get the rights to watch it here in SA. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think maybe the Cheetahs might be able to take it. And then obviously we all know what everyone's doing. Everyone's meeting up afterwards to join the same party down there in the square, where it's
Mm.
all and good in Amsterdam.
No jokes about the red light district, Sean. Seven
I was
half.
referring to the herbology culture.
Um, it's 7 Saturday. Newcastle Red Bull versus Lions. Demikosi, it's your team. I think you'll pretty much send the best possible team. In England, who you got?
We already beat the Bulls once. This is also another Bulls team.
Oh, fantastic!
We should just. I think the
Oh my
Lions should be
God,
on the out of those Buffaloes. So yeah,
Jean. Are Newcastle gonna give the Lions wings or not?
I know that the Lions will be drinking Red Bull before the match. I
Hmm.
don't know if that's a burn or a self-own. We'll have to. It depends on the result. Um, Gosh, I don't know. The Newcastle Red Bulls are so new on the scene. I mean, obviously it's Newcastle Falcons that's been resurrected by Red Bull. But yeah, it's so difficult to place them. I sort of I have them on the fringe of my rugby radar. And they've had good performances and they've had bad performances. Very difficult to place them. So if there's a chance for the Lions to make a statement overseas, I would say this is the chance.
Fantastic. So 5 games to look forward to this weekend. Yeah. Four on Saturday and one the Bulls game on Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock. That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you to Jean and Tembi Kosi. And as we say every week, in Rasi, we trust.